Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you are now listening to Rob and Rat's World of Wonder podcast. So sit back, relax, and prepare your ears as they take you on a journey of all things weird and wonderful.
Hello, and we're back, and welcome back to the Rob Rat podcast.
Hello.
Oh, yeah, how are we getting on? Anyway, it's the World of Wonder podcast. Thanks for coming back to listening to us. And if you're a brand new listener, you're very, very welcome.
And you can find us on Facebook at Rob Rat's Wow Podcast. We're on Twitter at Rob and Rat's World of Wonder. And Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, Rob Rat Podcast. That's where you can find us.
Basically, if you go into kind of any of the search engines and put in Rob Rat Podcast, you should find us. We do have a few different names like World of Wonder and...
Well, it's the World of Wonder series.
It is.
And in today's episode, titled Psychic Mediums, we're talking about...
And if you are a psychic medium, you already knew that.
Yes.
We're talking about psychic mediums. Basically, the world of people who have the power to speak to the dead... or claim to have the power to speak to the dead, can communicate with them. Yeah. Also, they can read your minds, your voices, and some of them have like other supernatural powers, like being able to move things with their mind and stuff like that too. So,
okay.
So later on in the episode, we're going to speak to I actually spoke to a psychic medium, and we get the interview from her. But before we do that, I think we're going to go to the news. What do you think?
Yeah, we'll go to the news.
All right.
Rob and Rat's Weird and Wonderful News.
Okay, so this is the news section of the podcast. And my news story dates back a while. It's actually from 1975.
So it's not really news.
Well, it's not
new.
It's not current news.
It's old.
Yeah, it's old news.
Old.
But still, this is
still good stuff, is it?
This is the weird and wonderful news.
Course.
It can be anytime,
Good stuff.
anywhere. So, right, in 1975... this was published by the Royal Gazette newspaper. It made the front page and it made many headlines in different papers. And the story is actually still very common today. You'd see it online. Some people may have heard of it, some people not. And the title on the newspaper was Incredible Coincidence in Road Crash Deaths. So a guy called Erskine Eben. Erskine was killed on the night of July 18th, 1975 in Bermuda. He died in a road traffic accident. Erskine was accidentally struck and killed by a taxi while riding his moped. 1 year later, his brother Neville died in a road traffic accident. But Neville died on a nearby stretch of road. He died in the same way. In fact, he was riding the same moped his brother owned.
He was riding his dead brother's bike.
His dead brother's moped. Like after the brother passed away, he took
Neville, and what's the other brother called?
Erskine. They're from Bermuda.
I was going to say.
Yeah, but listen, wait, that's not it, right? So he died on the same moped, not far from where his brother was killed, and he was hit by the same taxi driver.
No way.
Yeah, and to make it even stranger, right, the taxi driver was carrying the same passenger. I swear to God.
Is there only a few people who live in this village?
Well, but it was a year in the difference. So it was the brother died in 1975, and Erskine and Neville died a year later. But isn't that mad? The same taxi driver with the same passenger. That's just crazy. That's weird and wonderful.
It is, and rest in peace, brothers.
Yeah, come on. But in fairness...
Is it too soon?
We're all well over it now. 1975.
Well, Bermuda. Where is Bermuda Triangle? That's all I really know.
Well, like Bermuda is actually, if you look up at your map,
have a map.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
If you look up, it's there somewhere. Is that what you're going to say? It's somewhere on the map.
There's a map on the wall. I don't know where it is, but the Bermuda Triangle is obviously in the ocean near there. It's an island, Bermuda.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you. All right. So really good. We're going to go to our next news story. Now, if you were listening before, and if you weren't, what's wrong with you? Go back and listen. But if you were listening previously, you will have remembered that we spoke about a Chihuahua named Gizmo who was taken by a seagull in his back garden. He's only a small little miniature Chihuahua. And you actually sent me one of the links to this during the week. So the Chihuahua went missing. There's a little 5-year-old girl, and she was very upset to find her Chihuahua is gone. It's in Devon in England. And then recently a woman spotted something falling from the sky from seagulls that were fighting, and they thought it might have been the paw of the Chihuahua Gizmo. So a lot of people thought that's what it was. Turns out from looking into it that it's actually turned out to be a rabbit foot.
Oh, is that what it was?
So the hope is that Gizmo is still alive. But now...
Not a hope.
Well, they haven't found the body, so they're hoping the poor little Gizmo is still out there.
He could be anywhere.
But there's now, since that, there's been there's a suspect in the case.
Okay,
So
suspect pigeon.
There is the suspect. Well, no, it's
Seagull.
A seagull,
Sorry,
yeah. 'Cause,
sorry.
but the seagull, he's a big seagull. If you see him here, I've got a picture of him here, and I'll put it up on our Facebook page. He's a pretty big guy. The picture is of him eating a pigeon. So this is a
God.
big seagull. He's a big guy. And he's been spotted around the area terrorizing. Like, he's a big guy. And so he's the main suspect.
Some of them are massive, like some
Huge.
pigeons. You do see them; they're huge, like the size of cats.
Yeah, big thing. So he is like, he's the main suspect in the case at the moment. The little 5-year-old girl has said that she thinks something needs to be done about the pigeons in the area. I don't know what she wants as a call on it. The girl's mother has been quoted as saying, hopefully when Brexit happens, we'll be able to remove some of the red tape and finally take care of these pigeons, because she reckons that Europe is stopping them from culling off the pigeons in the area. While I was doing that, I fell into a bit of a pigeon rabbit hole. So there's a few other pigeon cases in the news recently. Right, okay, so just bear with me here, right? But this is... so in Sweden, right? Sweden has very strict laws when it comes to marijuana.
Okay.
Right. One joint can get you in jail for 6 months.
Oh,
right.
God,
So it's quite
yeah.
strict. So there was a man sitting on a bench and he was smoking some marijuana, and some police officers were walking by.
Yeah.
And they spotted a woman opposite him on another bench smoking some marijuana, and they approached her. So he thought, I'll throw away my bag of weed now while they're not looking.
Yeah.
Threw it into a bush, but the cops saw him and started to approach him. And just as they were going to go and pick up the bag of weed, who swoops in? A seagull.
And
Swooped in,
saves
stuck
the day.
stole the bag of weed and flew off, so they weren't able to prosecute him. So yeah, seagulls. So seagulls do some good and seagulls do some bad.
Yeah.
So,
mainly
good.
yeah.
Mainly good. But
Well, you
mainly
can't
bad.
forgive them for killing rabbits and
Yeah, and well, they don't know
stealing
that,
chihuahuas.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah, and also in Dublin now, there's a lot of pigeon stuff in seagull. I keep saying
Pigeons,
seagull
yeah.
stuff in the news recently. Because Dublin people are being harassed by seagulls at their lunchtime. One woman had a sandwich stolen out of her hand.
I'd be really fucking annoyed.
Could you imagine the price of a sandwich in Dublin anyway?
Yeah.
And then some...
They're like
bloody-
€40.
About €40, yeah. You don't get much change from a 50.
But that's awful. No, but imagine even just you had a bad day at work, you're going out for lunch, like, God, I just want to sit 5 minutes out on the stoop and eat my sandwich. And then a seagull comes up. Yeah, you'd be
fucking
raging.
yeah. That's what you know. So if you're,
But
if
if
you're
I
in
was-
America, you can just pull out your gun.
On
and
the
blast
other
it.
side of that, if I was sitting across from someone who I witnessed have their sandwich stolen, I'd love it.
You'd be telling me that story now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love it.
It actually reminds me when I was in Australia years ago.
Oh,
and-
here we go. I was in Australia.
Yeah, but I travelled. So I was actually playing golf, right, with a friend of mine. And we stopped like on the 9th hole because we had a golf cart and we were driving around, and we stopped on the 9th hole, and he went in to go to the shop, and he smokes rollies, right? So
Okay.
he left his rolling tobacco and stuff on the seat, and I jumped off. I was on the phone.
Okay.
So our golf cart is parked outside the shop, and it wasn't a seagull now, but it was like a big bird, a crow.
Okay.
Came, landed on the golf cart, and was sitting there and looking at me, and he picked up the pouch of rolling tobacco in its mouth. And I went to try and run after him to stop him, and he flew off, right? And he flew off over the 18th hole, and like all the tobacco and all the
It was raining down
all
on
this, all the rolling papers, and everything was raining down on these old men on the 18th hole. I didn't know what was happening. It was hilarious. And then my friend came out of the shop, and I told him like, but it sounds so unbelievable, but like he believed me then when he could just see the 18th hole covered in all his wrist.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I swear to God, a bird came.
Yeah, man. No, but so yeah, that's it. Poor old Gizmo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Gizmo is the name of
The Chihuahua.
Yeah, but also that film, isn't it? Gremlins.
The Gremlins, yeah.
Well, he was a gremlin.
And if anyone has any information on Gizmo, please contact the Rob Rad podcast.
Yeah.
And we'll get the news to them.
Yeah. We will.
That was the news!
That was the news, all right.
Rob and Rat's weird and wonderful news.
Okay, so that was the news.
That was the news.
That was the news. Was that the news? Yeah.
It
Okay.
was, yeah.
So on this episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about psychic mediums and to a psychic medium.
Yes.
So Stephen, I suppose start by asking you: do you believe that psychic mediums are like telling you the truth, or are they frauds?
Well, like people, I find it very hard to believe that someone can commune with the dead. But I don't know. I'm keeping my mind open for this podcast. You know the illusionist Darren Brown.
Yep.
You know Darren Brown. He does all the kind of mind tricks and reading the thing. Like he is very important. Kind of. Well, he doesn't believe it at all. And like he in one of his stage shows he talked about a philosopher called David Hume who said years and years ago that extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence, which basically means if you're claiming to be talking to the dead, there needs to be strong evidence to back this up. Do you know what I mean? As
Yeah.
in maybe something more than words, and if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And what he does in this episode, Darren Brown, in that stage show we had, I can't remember what the show was called, but I remember watching it.
I think I've seen it as well.
He brings member of the audiences up,
Yep.
and he basically says, look, do not give your money over to these people because they are taking advantage. Like when people are at their most vulnerable, that's when they can be taken advantage of, and you kind of grasp at whatever you can to give you comfort. Like if someone does pass away, you know, like you've just lost someone, you kind of want some closure, you want to know are they okay or whatever it might be. But yeah, he brings people up on stage, and basically what he does, he said, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pretend to talk to your loved ones, but I'm not doing it. And then, you know, he does the whole...
He kind of explains how he does it, doesn't he?
Well,
It's
he
cold reading or cold...
He kind of doesn't explain, but he just kind of says, I'm able to do this, but I'm not talking to the dead. And he does that whole thing, like, I see a chair. And, like, it was, like, there was... I can't remember exactly, but there was a woman, he was like, I can see a kind of chair in the corner. He's like, oh, yeah, my grandmother used to always sit in a rocking chair. Now, you know, he was getting things spot on. So, but I don't know, like, I don't know. I am open, though, to hear, like, and see
Well, that's it. You see, I would be of the same kind of thought. And I spoke in the interviews here, and I said it to her as well, that I'd be quite sceptical. And she said, but she loves a skeptic because she likes to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
And I kind of said to her, what do you think about... Well, you'd hear me say it anyway, but what do you think about... you know, the claim that people think that what you're doing is taking advantage of vulnerable people.
Yeah.
And she has an answer for that too, but we can...
Yeah, we'll
get
listen to that.
But before we get to that, right, I did a little bit of an Instagram poll just to see what our listeners thought, because I wasn't really sure, because obviously when you have your own mindset, you think, oh, everyone thinks like me.
Yeah.
But it was actually 50-50.
Okay.
So we got like over 100 votes in it, and...
100 people voted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We put them up on our story, so our Instagram account is Rob Rat Podcast.
Rob Rat
So we will
Podcast.
do that for some of our episodes, just to get kind of I also put up like an opportunity for Instagram followers to ask some questions to the psychic, and we got a couple of questions, and I put them to her as well.
Yeah. That's actually a good point for people, that if you keep an eye on our Instagram for upcoming interviews that we do, we will, you know, we'll be looking for you to ask questions.
Yeah, but it just gets you involved. And kind of, if you have a question that you've always wanted to ask, then, you know, we'd be happy to ask.
I will always have it on our Instagram story for things like that.
So basically, anyway, 50, it was 50, I think it was 55 45 in
Out
55
of 100 votes,
said they didn't believe. 55 people said that they didn't believe.
Okay.
That she was telling the truth.
But it's still fairly high.
It's pretty high for
100 people.
Yeah. So it just shows you there is a lot of belief for this out there.
Yeah, well, then I suppose we've touched on things. You know, we've touched on the paranormal. We've touched on, you know, what happens when you die, and it's kind of all tied into the same thing. Unless you believe it's nothing and blank, you have to be open to these different things.
I think you have to.
Yeah. So, should we go to the interview?
We'll go to the interview. So, this is a psychic medium. Her name is Lisana Maria. And, we'll go to the interview and we'll catch up after this.
So, I'm here now and I've got Lisana Maria. Lisana Maria is a psychic medium. Lisa, are you there?
I am there, yes.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you. So, I suppose I've spoken to two of your pals recently. They're paranormal investigators, and they've told me that when they get in contact with spirits, that you're the person to come and talk to.
Certainly am, yeah. I definitely have been called in with the team in question. I work with them a lot, and yeah, if they can't, you know, the two people I connect with the most, the two of them are very much clarisensitive. You know, they feel things themselves, but they just don't go any further. But I would come in, and I would say, for instance, if we did a place like a castle or anything, I would come in there and we would communicate and, you know, talk to them and see what's going on, try and clear energy. And if we did houses as well.
Okay. So you have psychic abilities, is that right?
Yes, I do.
And when did you discover that you had these abilities?
I'd say as young as I was probably 7. I was talking to them when I was 3 years old, but I thought that they were just, you know, the end of my bed, but definitely more so when I was about 7 years old.
And so do you hear voices? Is that what it is, or do you see people?
Yeah, I would say that I would hear voices, okay, so that would be your mediumship. I would hear things as if I'd know them, and you don't always hear a spirit very well. You know, people think spirits talk to you clearly. They don't. They talk in a monotone, you know, very, very straight. But also spirits are telepathy. They don't always talk to us. It's mostly telepathy-wise. You know, you see them. They use their hands, expressions, and I see them in my mind's eye as well as I see them in front of me.
And do you see them as they were when they were alive, like as they would have been, or do you see them in more of like you know the way that there's a kind of the thought of like a transparent man or
I can see a variety of them, but mainly, as my mind's eye, I often see them depending on the circumstances of how they passed or whatever, and depending on the situation. I normally would see them as they were the happiest, not necessarily in pain if it's loved ones that are coming. If it's to do with very ancient past, as in I said, other places that are haunted for many moons, I often see them as they were, and they're not always nice. So it depends.
Okay. And this may be a strange question, but do they look like when they passed on? So if somebody had a kind of a horrific death, would they look like they, or do they look kind of, no?
No, I can see them in a variety of things. Sometimes I hold back information because it's to protect, if I'm with a person, and I would protect them if they don't need that part, if it was horrific and it's up to date, if I'm talking in our time. But if we're going back in many moons, like hundreds of years ago, no, I can see a horrific death often enough. And I can see stuff that has happened.
And what would they be wearing clothes? Like, is that?
Yeah, no, they'd be wearing as they die. You see, if you go to the bigger places, as in castles, you would see them, and a lot of people, it's called residual energy. I don't know if you know what that is, but some of them will live on a time loop as what they were. They would be doing the things they would have been doing before they passed. And, you will see them dressed as they are coming back. So you will often see that, okay? But you do, I do see them. Most of them are as they were when they passed. They haven't updated the clothes or anything.
No, I was just wondering, because I know that maybe they might be a physical body, but obviously it's just material clothes. I often wondered, did they kind of pass through, or how does that work? But okay.
Nice.
So like in today's time, have you would you communicate, and are you afraid of these people when you speak to them?
No, not necessarily at all. I sadly worked in some cases where I don't like saying it's my speciality, but it seems to be that I work with missing people or murdered people, and I've helped around in a few things over the world.
Okay.
I'm not scared of them. It's not nice what you see. It might make me ill. I feel things. One of my main things is I feel what the spirit has happened to them.
Okay. Oh.
So they will make me feel sick, or they will show me an image, or and it's not always nice if it's that way in passing. But am I scared? Yes, I am scared, especially them in castles, because they're not always. You don't know what you're dealing with always.
Okay.
So yes.
And you mentioned there that you've dealt with missing people and people who've been murdered. So have you spoken to spirits who would have been murdered?
Yes.
And have you asked them who committed this murder?
I have, and I'm working currently on one in England with someone, and it's an ongoing thing. You still have to find and get them. Sometimes police aren't always welcoming. Do you know what I mean?
But would you take this information to the police? Would you go to them and say,
I have helped. When I say working all over the world, I have helped in a case talk to police. I have given information over here, and I have been useful, and we have recovered someone in past. But what I don't tend to do is I don't go to any papers, because for me it's not about me, it's about them. If the family want to do it, that's fine, but I don't think that's right. So for me, my personal choice, I like to keep quiet.
And in the case of like a missing person, how do you go about tracking someone down? Because I imagine if you were trying to look for someone, you're looking for clues, or do you take a piece of their clothing and try and contact them through that, or what?
Well, what happens is something will happen that I either have a connection with someone that has someone missing, or something's happened, someone's murdered. There seems to be some form of a connection, whether I've read for a client and it's their cousin or friend comes down the line, or I am drawn to something. And what will happen is I actually it's like a spirit finds me, and I will feel what they want me to feel. I will see certain things, that they show me. So I automatically write. Really, one of my biggest things, if anyone's been with me or any of the teams that work with me, I could sit down suddenly and I'll go off with a pen and paper, and I'll be writing random things that might look scribbled, but I'll be writing things, keys that I'm showing, flashes of maybe keys, shoe, near a lake, for example, part of something else. Do you know what I mean? It'll be a bit of everything. And then I get to put it together over time. I get more and more information. I pass it on, Yeah.
But when you first started to kind of hear these voices when you were younger and as you got older, what was the reaction of friends and families and stuff like that when you started to tell them that you were able to
Oh, well,
contact?
you know what? I have two families, one over in this country and one in England. I often think my England ones are different. They tend to believe, they sort of, okay, they know. I'm not so sure with all, families are different, isn't it? Because it's very hard when you've grown up with them and then they don't know, they're not sure, and you come back and they're like, yeah, is it, or does she know stuff? You get people questioning you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can understand. Yeah, of course. Well, for instance, we have an Instagram page for our podcast, and I put up 2 posts. One of the questions was, did anybody have any questions to ask you today? And I got a couple of questions which I'll ask you in a few minutes. Another one then was just asking whether or not people believed or not. And it was pretty 50-50. We got about 120 votes. And it was pretty 50-50 either way. So some people felt quite strongly that they had great connections using a psychic. But other people then thought that maybe that you might be a fraud, maybe taking advantage of vulnerable people. What do you say to kind of a question like that?
Sorry. What I say to that is people have their own opinions, For me personally, if I work for something, especially if it's a missing person or someone's ill or someone's murdered, I never take a penny off no one, nor would I ask. And I do it on my own back, on my own time. And with the rest of the stuff is I would never do that, take vulnerable, because I value my gift. I'm more scared of misusing it and then losing it and then, be the rat of spirits, if you like. But I wouldn't push it down anyone. I understand that, because even at my own family, it's fine. I don't mind what they think. It doesn't bother me. I know what I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just because I suppose that's the big question on everyone's mind is like, what happens when we die? And it's a very complex question. And I suppose when someone comes forward and says they have the answers, people are going to be obviously skeptical of whether or not, because it's such a big question,
It is.
And do you have any answers? What do you think happens to these people when they pass on?
Listen, I believe, it's the same as probably everyone believes, and everyone's got their own opinion, but when a soul passes on, you leave your physical body. Your body is there. You've already left. Your soul has left your body, and it's already gone across up to heaven, up to spirit, whatever anyone wants to call it. But I believe because I know. I see it. I see them there meeting, if you like, the big white light, which everyone would go, oh, here we go, the white light. But I see that. I see the doors opening. I would be called like a gatekeeper. I cross people over. I've crossed people over that are trapped in houses.
And why do these people get trapped? Why do these
Because sometimes with horrific deaths, especially, sadly, suicides, crashes, murders, sometimes, especially those things, they don't know they're dead because it happened so suddenly. So they can only see what was happened the last time, and they can't understand why people are crying, or they're trying to get there, and they may be making, needing to be told, you have passed on, you have died, this has happened,
So you'd explain that to the spirit. You'd explain that to the spirit that they've had.
Yes, I would. Yeah, I would explain to the spirit because they're just as sad. They get hurt. Now, often enough, especially with people with tragic deaths, people might think they're selfish or whatever, but I've had spirits here that haven't been able to pass over across it because they've watched family that are breaking their hearts, and they need to let them know they're sorry or whatever it be. Do you know what I mean? And they will then go.
So then these spirits that do pass on, so are they living? So you're saying that you believe and you know that there's a heaven. Is that just a place for eternity that spirits will live?
Well, that's where they go. That's where they stay. That's where you meet up with your family or whatever. Some choose not to, though. Some choose to be called like earthbound spirits, where they don't cross the plane and they stay around here hovering, watching out for family quite happily. They're on that other plane, where they see what's going on. They don't really want to leave at all, and they're happy enough. They just choose not to,
Yeah.
Others just go, and that's why sometimes people come and they go, and I'm always straight. They come to me and they say, the person you may not want, may not be the person that comes through, because if they don't want to come through and they're happy enough, it means that people don't get that, The spirit
they're at peace over there. They're at peace and they don't need to come back. Okay.
Yeah, they're at peace, but sometimes the spirit just doesn't want to connect, and they're not performing monkeys. People think that I can summon them up. For me, it's not how I do it. I ask before someone comes in, or if I'm doing something, I will get a name. I don't always get names, but the numbers, names, or I get something. But if I don't get a connection, it means that I will always be straight. I'm known to be being very direct, but not to be horrible, but to be honest and not waste their time or hurt them, So I never tell someone what they want to hear. It's not my style, but I will always be, I've been known for being like spiritually, I give guidance, I look out for other things. So I find myself, I'm very unique, I'm naturally gifted. I didn't have to learn anything, it's just there. I'd say more of an empath, you know. It's
And was
always
this,
been that.
is there anybody else in the history of your family? Is this a gift that's been passed down
Yes,
from
there
somewhere?
is. Yes, there is. I have a cousin who's in Dublin, and I'm sure you wouldn't mind me mentioning him, but he's a well-known psychic. He's my mum's cousin. I didn't know he was my cousin when I went for an interview to work on a line once, you know, a psychic line, and it comes that I thought he was reading me, and it turns out that he is my mum's first cousin. But he's up in Dublin. We're down here in Laois. They're, you know, originally from Limerick. They're brothers and sisters, and my mum's brother, my mum's dad and his dad are fallen out. So it was, no one had really seen each other. It's just one of those things. So yeah.
Okay, well, okay. So can I just, I put up the thing, so I've got a couple of questions from listeners, so just maybe, because I don't know. So one of the main questions, I got this twice, was can you read minds?
How I work, I wouldn't say I read I feel you. I will, if I'm picking something up from someone, I would, if someone's speaking to me, and it might not be about what I'm getting from them, but I will read your voice. It's like I listen to your voice as one of my main gifts. And I will see things in my mind that have happened in May. But telepathy-wise, there are certain people, especially, I would say more so, I'm being honest, for me personally, I will connect with people, be able to read certain stuff off them if I'm not with them, if I have that big connection. I don't really try to read people's minds. I don't think, for me, that I would put myself in that position. It's too, you know, it's not my thing.
Yeah, okay. Another question was, can the dead predict the future?
Well, it's interesting. I give a lot of messages from, you know, I would never call myself a fortune teller. Though when people come, I always say I read for the here and now, and more so anything I get is from spirit. Then it's for the future. It's from them. And 9 times out of 10, anything I've told everyone, and pretty much I'd say 10 out of 10, I've always told me it's come true. I give messages for future. It's from spirit. So yeah, I believe they can give you a helping start if you want to listen, or they can see things.
So would that mean that everything is kind of predetermined already then, if they can see something?
Well, I don't go into too long in the future. I never go that. I read the energy. Energy changes all the time, as we know, because our minds can change a decision that we were going to do something or go for a job and then they're not, you know. So I read short term. So I don't think that I only give the answers as the person that's asking me something. And if I pick it up and I give it, or if I have something, but I don't think it totally predicts the truth. Energy changes, you know. So I wouldn't say that.
Okay. One of the questions, it's quite a vague question. It says, what happens when we die? I suppose that's the big question that everybody wants to know.
But like I said, I think I answered that earlier, but it's basically we die, our body, well, you know what happens to your body. You either get cremated or you choose to be buried. And obviously, once you get buried, your body is no more. It just disintegrates into bone. Okay, but your spirit, your soul is left as you die. As you're taking your last breath, it's like your soul, it rises out. I don't know if listeners have ever heard the old saying, when I used to nurse many years ago, we used to open the window when someone's dying to let the soul out, you know?
Yeah, I've heard that,
Yeah, it's literally true is what we used to do. And actually, I was an Irish nurse I worked with for a long time, and she always insisted on doing that. And it's literally, your soul is what is in your being. And often people say your soul, you hear people saying, oh, well, it's an old soul, or you've been here before, because people say your soul is reused. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. So that's is that like reincarnation sort of thing, like, is it? Or?
Well, yeah, I think if you've heard people say, I feel like something, I've been here before, I know this, I know that, that's not right. And then you hear people going for past regression or whatever, and they say you were here and you were this, this, and this, you know? But your soul goes up to the heaven, it's your soul. And then you go into your body, as in your soul body, for me. That's the way I would look at it. I call it a soul body, not everyone, but it's like that. And I see them, and the point that they are often, they could go back to a younger age when they were, you know, first married with someone, even though they died elderly. They go back with the things of happiness, no problems, health, everything. You know, they seem, that's what I see them.
Okay. Well, I've got 2 more questions here. Just from listeners. So one of them, can you move things with your mind?
Are they asking me that or anyone?
You. Well, can you specifically do it, or can you?
Well, I haven't studied my witchcraft yet and twitched my nose, so no. I mean, I work with a lot of pendulums. I work with a lot of stuff. I guess I have a great control on stuff, but I don't know. how to explain it. I don't think I can move things. No.
Okay. And the last question is here: do star signs really matter?
Oh God! When I was a young girl, I used to always be into them. All right. I went through a part where probably I thought no, but as I've evolved and as my gifts evolve and as things come on and I get older, I think to a point, you know. But I don't think, for me, I'm only talking about me, no one else. I don't follow them every day. That's my choice.
Okay.
Because given this gift, I would sit here and I'd analyse it knowing me, and I'd be going, right, that's not happening. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I take a step back. But I do think that they're there for a reason. Like your characters, yeah, I would say I'm true to my character sometimes on myself.
And you said that your gifts, so even now as you go on, are you discovering more of your power or more of your gifts?
Yeah, they're just different things are getting stronger and things that I wouldn't do. Channeling, you know, for one. Whereas I've been recently and I didn't know how much I could do it, but I could be sitting with someone and we'd be in a place where we're recording something, and you have to be careful and not be open because it can sort of take in your body and you channel them, and it's not always nice.
So they'd speak through you then?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Oh.
So I try not to do that because it drains you. It really does. But the way I do, if I invite spirit, I would never advise anyone to do it. I always protect myself. I always make sure to shut, you know, and thank them. I'm always respectful to whoever I am, wherever place I am. If I'm working with a paranormal group, if I'm working on my own, I will always make sure I respect them and thank them, you know. But there's the odd times where you don't have control. If something's very strong and you're not ready for it, it can jump into you, especially in psychics. So you do have to be careful and make sure you're protected. And I have made that mistake a couple of times, so I know.
Yeah, when I spoke to the two other lads, they mentioned about demonology and about bad spirits and demons.
Yeah.
But what are they spirits that used to live in this world, or are they from another world? Are they like?
Oh wow, yeah. Well, look, let's go back to a place like I was saying. I mentioned the castle because mainly that's where I think they're speaking. So, say a castle. You go back into the history of it and you'd hear things of probably witches and sorcerers, and then you go back again and there'd be druids. Now, druids are known to conjure and dabble with the bad stuff, if you know, and they sort of create this thing. And yeah, I do believe there are such things that are negative. And are they demons? Are they, I don't know. Yeah, I have seen them.
I suppose if you're saying there is a heaven, would that mean that there's a hell too, and that's where these spirits go?
Well, do you know what? I'm not really sure, because for me, personally, I believe there's a heaven for everyone.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah,
I do.
Regardless of religion.
Well, if I'm going on the religious part, we would be saying, there's a heaven for everyone. If I'm going on my own opinion, I think that yes, there's a heaven, but it's not the same sort of heaven for someone who's been absolutely done wrong to people. That's
like a serial murderer or something like that, compared to what the stories are.
Yeah, they're just my opinions. I follow what I believe still. But yeah, I think there's a place for everyone.
Okay. And just on a lighter note, have you ever thought about trying to predict the lotto?
I've been asked that many times, and trust me, I would not be in this place. I'll be on holiday now in a hot place in the Caribbean thing if I could. So
there's no point in me asking you for some lotto numbers then.
No, you won't be able to get a lot of numbers because I have to get them myself first. So if you might get luckier than I would.
Yeah, I was wondering. So during a reading, you said you do the phone calls and stuff like that. So how does that go about? When you're doing a reading, you say you're talking to someone over the phone, and you're mainly getting it from their voice. Is that correct? Yeah, or even if you're sitting in front of me. But what I do is I have some clients over the world, and say I did a read a few nights ago for someone in Canada. Okay. Yeah. And we would do messenger. I don't do face messenger. I would do phone messenger because I don't want to see them. I want to be able to read them, because when you don't always see them, for them, it's a bigger wow. How did you get that? She doesn't look like that. So I would speak to them and we talk. And the more you speak to me, the more I hear something. It's like I get them to relax, like they're my friends. Not that you're going to have people saying, oh, then they're telling her this and that. No, that's not what it works for me. What I ask them is, I will say something like, okay,
does the number 3 mean something to you? I could be talking away and she'd go, oh, I said like 3 months, 3 weeks. Did you last speak to him? If it's about love. And we'll start, she'll say, yes. I just talk, I say, let them explain something if they've got emotion that you need to explain. But I don't get them to give me clues because that's not how I do it. I don't cold read anyone. I read your voice. The voice shows me images in my head about things that possibly will happen in the short term that I read for them or may have happened and things that are not wrong. I get a gut instinct if I'm using tarot cards as well, whereas I will see things on there and I'll know that I use my tarot uniquely different to anyone else. It's just a guide. It's just more of a guide. I read them. They sort of give me what I was already getting. My mediumship is my strongest thing, my psychic abilities, and that's what I do. But
with the tarot cards, do I not have to pick a card? How would that work if it's over the phone?
No, because you over the phone, we ask them to tell us when to stop shuffling, and then we stop and then we pull them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how we would do that.
Sure.
So it's quite different.
Maybe not, right? But would it be possible for you to give me a quick reading now?
Oh God, you got me on the hop because I wasn't expecting that.
Okay.
So to be fair, if I know and you want to talk to me again, I'll quite happily come on there and I'll tune into you because I'd have to have a better thought. I was just listening to you here at this moment. I wasn't even thinking about reading. I tune myself out. I try not to read too many people. Otherwise, I don't think I'd have a life.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I just want you weren't getting anything from my voice. You weren't feeling anything, or you can't tell me.
I do feel. I don't know much about you because I'm not the best on the social media, but I do feel you're very, I want to say adventurous. You're always on the go. You're always up to something. You're always doing something, and I feel there's a few of you in it. And I say few, but I don't know, 3 men or something. But I do feel it's like you've always got a goal. You're always searching for the next thing. I won't say a thrill seeker, but you always have a challenge. You always want to break something. Does that make sense in a line?
Right.
Am I making sense or not?
I suppose in a way. I think so.
All right, well, and this is the other problem. Even though I live in Ireland, English and Irish, my terminology might mean something, you might mean different. Do you get me? But I might be talking about the same thing. But what I'm saying, when I say break something, I'm writing here as I speak to you. I just got the word record, so I don't know where that came from. So I feel like there's always a challenge. You're very adventurous, maybe doing stuff, challenging stuff. You're a go-getter.
Right.
Like the next project. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a little bit I'm picking up about you. And I don't know if there's a few other men who you have a few, that you work with or your little team, but I feel there's a few of you.
Okay.
You're very close with. So that's what I'm picking up that part.
Right.
If I tuned in anymore, we'd be here all night, and I don't think.
Okay, well, maybe that's fair enough. I just thought maybe could you tell me, will Mayo ever win the All Ireland? Would that be something you'd be able to tell us?
Well, I live in Port Leash, so what do you think I'm going to say?
Yeah, well, I'm a Mayo man, so I just was wondering, because there's supposed to be a curse. Would you believe in curses? Would that be something you believe in?
Yeah, to a point, actually, yes, because a lot of my clients are, I've had a lot of people, they are, what is the word I'm looking for? Not Sri Lankan. Yeah, they are Sri Lankan, and they believe in God. I have a lot of, you know what I mean, Sikhs and Indians. So yes, I do because of what I never did, but I do. For I have with them.
And sometimes when you're getting a reading, you're getting stuff through. Why is it often that I hear about, it can be quite vague, and spirits be quite vague. They never really come out straight away and just say what it is that they want to, or that they want to say, or who they are.
No, because they have to use your energy. So for me to read you, like if I was tuned in now, I'd have to ask to tune in and block everything else out, and then be focusing on reading you. Not even say me, but in communication with the ghost or something like that. Well, no, but in general,
see them there and then, is it not the same as just having a conversation? It's a different form of conversation.
It is a different form, because that's what I'm saying. Like, in general, you see a flash of spirit. You've got to remember, depending on how long they're up there, they've got to muster energy. They've got to learn a different way of communication with someone. So therefore, you will get them. But they use, like for me, they'll be using my energy to give me the messages they want, so that I get drained and tired. So it's really hard. So you will get vague bits. It just depends on how strong they want, or depending on how they were in this life, if they were very willful and strong, as to how much you get. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, Lisa, Lisanna, thank you so much for speaking to me today. If people wanted to get in contact with you and wanted to get a reading from you, How would
Yeah.
they go about doing that?
I have a Facebook page called Lisana Maria Spiritualist Medium. It's a friend request one, there's two. And also my phone number. Am I okay to get that out?
Yeah, but if you want, I can post it on our page.
Yeah,
you
I'll
can
give you that.
give your number there if you want as well, if anybody
Yeah.
wanted.
So
Yeah.
if they want to contact me or text me, it's 087 380 8968.
That's great, and you can do readings over the phone like that. And do you do readings in person as well? Do you do like?
Yep, I do readings in person as well. I clear houses. I'm a paranormal investigator as well. I'm doing my own event next week.
Yeah, that's right. Do you want to tell us a little bit? The only thing is
Yeah.
this interview isn't going to go out probably till Wednesday.
That's fine.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's perfect. So when do you want to tell us a little bit about your event?
Yeah, I am going to Lep Castle on the 31st of August, and it's sort of 9 p.m. to 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. overnight stay. I'm working with two paranormal investigators, which I'm going to mention from the other team, which is Larry and Val Doran.
They're from Paranormal Investigators Ireland, is their team, yeah.
They are Paranormal Investigators. I worked with them first, but this time I'm just working with these guys because this is my event, so they're coming to support me.
Okay, your event, sorry.
And no, we're working together, so we've done a real good thing scheduled. There's 3 places left. We already are sold out, but I took a lot. And basically we're going to be using old school and new school equipment, as in the ghost box, you hear, as in pendulums, as in, what else have we got? Seances, but we'll get the history. Sean Ryan will give you some history about the castle. We'll be going out. We've got dowsing rods. I have stuff to sell that's spiritual, but really and truly, the biggest part is I don't want to give too much away, but I think I can by Wednesday. We're doing something slightly different. We're doing some reenactment.
Okay.
So we have a scenery set. That's why I know it's going to be phenomenal. And we're hoping to try and get some live feeds. And Larry and Valdorm are very good. They're going to work with me on stuff as well. We've got a load of other stuff lined up. But we have some real good props and stuff,
Okay, so it's a great kind of adventurous night overall. So you stay overnight.
Yeah, it is a stay overnight. And we also, I have spoke with the Mirror Man there. I was the first person to catch him when I went with PII. He was someone, and I went with SSI, which is Supernatural Seekers, the week after. And they actually put their footage up and mentioned me, and it went into the Mirror, the paper, the Mirror.
And who is the Mirror Man?
Well, that's what we're trying to see. I mean, I have videos here. I can send you the videos, and you can have a look and look. And you can do what you want with them. And basically, I talked to him 5 or 6 times over the event. I've got pictures of a priest that has come out. I'll send you some stuff, and you can decide what you want to do with it. And this is the stuff that we're going to recreate. But the Mirror Man, I've asked him. He seems to be a man with you look in the mirror. So we call him the Mirror Man because there's a mirror up in the big room. We call it the Red Ladies' Room. And some people think it's dirty, but it's not. It's actually old, stained, and it's the way it is. When I stare into it suddenly during the day, you see nothing. And I looked over, and I was just talking away, and I saw this man peeking out of it. And he looked like he had like a straw hat on and like a carbuncle nose, very big, and a jacket. So I would call him. I reckon he might have been an overseer or something to do with the castle. And I asked him, I said, don't go. You'll hear it on the video. And I asked him a couple of times to step forward, and he would step back. If I step back, he'll do the opposite. And then that week with SSI, it was in the night, and people were there. So I spoke to many, but I'm going back there to see what else I can get, because I know I've also seen a priest up there. And
would that be like a spirit trapped in the mirror? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, there's many theories, isn't there, about the mirrors. The mirrors are meant to be a gateway, or they trap them. That's why, you remember the olden days, they cover up the mirror, don't leave it. Do you know what I mean?
Whenever you go into a funeral or a wake or something like that, the mirrors are always covered over. That's the thought. Is that why they do that? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's why, because they do the mirrors. But I've also seen the supposed, for me, it looked like an elemental of the horrible curse up there in the mirror. I have many pictures. I will send them on. You can see what you want to put up. But Lep Castle, I just fall in love with the place. And every time I go, they give me more and more and more. So this is why we're going to do this little thing, a couple of little things we want to do.
And for our listeners, where is Lep Castle? Where is that?
Lep Castle, if I'm right, is in Coolberry, Offaly.
Okay.
And they can look it up. And like I said, only 3 places left.
Will you be doing another night there in the future?
I will be. I'm hoping to see if I can get one in September or even November. But there's other events as well that we have. But Yeah, I think that we've worked hard on this between us to make something slightly different to bring the psychic and our paranormal investigations together. I'm also going to leave an old tape recorder there. I want to do a bit of everything just to see, because as a paranormal investigator side of me, I always want to see more. I need to make sure. I want proof, That's what I do. So there's two sides of that. So, and respect them. I just have to respect them. But, if people think that, you go into these places and you're going to get thrown up against the wall and that doesn't happen.
Okay.
It doesn't, unless you provoke something, then maybe. But I've never seen that. Just be respectful. But there are nasty spirits. I won't lie. There's always bad spirits in certain places. And that's what we're going to seek. And one of the things we're doing up here is trying to draw out something that we know is there and we've seen it. And I just want to share the experience as well to others so they can believe.
Oh, it sounds like a great night. And I know you actually invited me along, but I'm not available for this one. But I definitely would like to get along in the future.
Yeah.
It sounds like a great experience overall. And I suppose I probably would be someone who's slightly skeptical, right?
Yeah,
but
that's why
I'd also love to see something. You know what I mean? So I'd be in there going, I don't know, but I'd love for it to be true. So
that's what I'm saying. I love a skeptic. I love them. And a lot of people have come to me that were skeptics. I never push it down. But if I suddenly randomly say something, they've often say, my God, they've come back on their own and said, I do believe you, but I've been to others that I don't believe. And it's the ones that let us down, that the ones that are maybe charging half an hour here, make you pay more. I don't work like that, If you need me, we work from that. That's the way it goes,
Yeah, because I presume there probably are people out there who are just being fraudulent and taking advantage, I suppose. And that's, I suppose, giving maybe other people a bad name. Would that be true?
Yeah, sadly, I'll probably get a lot of stick, but I'm going to be honest. Yeah, there are. And there's loads of genuine ones. And loads of us, if anyone was to speak up for me, they'll tell you I go over and beyond my time. I don't charge by half an hour. I don't do any of that stuff. I an hour, and I love them being here 2 hours late, and I have to get told that I've got people waiting because I want to make sure that whoever I'm looking after, whatever's going on, that they're okay when they leave me. If they're upset, they're not going until I can try and help them out. So I do a bit of everything from that, from the spiritual guidance, make sure they're all right. I go out on my way because my clients become my family, and that's just the way it is. And I have a lot of
it's obviously a very personal thing if you're going to go in and speak to someone and then maybe speak to someone who's a loved one of theirs who's passed on. And it becomes a part of you too then maybe.
And it does. And then you've also got topics that are very, very sensitive, that you have to handle with care. If there's a physical abuse, or other stuff like that, you have to.
And do you find yourself then, because obviously you deal with a lot of both kind of strange and abnormal things. Do you find yourself that you need to kind of digress and speak to someone else about this sometimes? Is there counselling for psychics? Is there somewhere you can go and talk?
No, there's not. But I have a good couple of friends, or I talk to, Larry and Van recently if I had a bad time, or any of my friends that I have clarisensitive friends, but I find that it's easy to take stuff home, especially when it hits you in the heart, and you try and leave it there. But they often, I'm a big softie, so they can get into my heart, and if I'm worried about someone, I will always be there. For me also, I don't care who you are, what race, what you do, who you are. I read for anyone. No judgments of me. It's about the person for me, and if I can help. So I do get upset with people that rip people off.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, it's been lovely to speak to you today, and hopefully I'll get to attend one of your nights in the future, and maybe if we make more progressions with the man in the mirror, we could come back and talk to you again at some stage too.
Certainly can, and I'll let you know then what goes on. I'll send you anything if you like for the man in the mirror if we get something on the 31st.
That'd be brilliant. Okay, well, Lisanna Maria, you can get you on Facebook, and you've given us a phone number, and we'll post that on our social media as well. Thank you very much for speaking to me.
Thank you very much, Rob. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, so that was my interview with Lisanna Maria, psychic medium. What do you think?
I thought I was interested in it, definitely. Like, one thing I do think, when she did the reading there and you at the end.
Yeah.
I found that, when she kind of saying, like, you like to achieve things, you like to do things, and then she kind of made it breaking records and doing things as a group. Like, me, myself and yourself have a Guinness World Record.
We do. We've never spoken about this.
No, we didn't know before. But anyway, Like, the thing is, if you just go on to, like, if I got my phone now, and I could say to my listeners now, if I got into Google and I typed in Robert Toomey, which is your name, Robert Toomey, and just like a few links down,
I think the first 5 links
it's Guinness World Record that we broke.
Yeah.
Not to saying that she did do that, but I'm just saying that's kind of...
But you see, this is the whole thing, isn't it? You can either believe that she was able to figure that out from my voice. No, she said...
That's it, we can't prove she didn't Google it.
No. You can't. We can't prove that she did either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah. No. But I like 7 years old when she started getting like the ability. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well. She says like her powers have progressed as she got older. You know, and she's still discovering. She reckons her gift is getting stronger.
Okay. I thought it was that when she's helping people kind of solve cases and that she's not doing that for money. You know, I found that was noble and good.
But of course it is, yeah. Do you know, like, I suppose if I had, you see, this is the whole thing. Like, we're talking to people who have seen Bigfoot, people who've seen aliens, people who have like passed on and come back, all this type of stuff. So if we're going to believe them, I'd give as much merit to that as you give to I don't think it's fair.
I don't believe any of them. I'm joking. No, I know.
Do you know what I mean? If you're going to listen, I suppose you got to be open-minded, and that's the whole thing. And she said she does love a skeptic, and she does love to prove them wrong. She has invited us down to her, to one of her nights, so we are going to go to that at some stage in the future. We can't do the next upcoming one, but we'd like to definitely
go and meet them.
And okay, I'd love her to prove me wrong. As I said in the interview, I don't really believe it.
Look,
but I'd love to be proved
I'm
wrong.
still open to it and seeing. You know what I mean? There are loads of things that people cannot explain, and we've talked about it time and time again on this podcast. I kind of, when she was talking about seeing the spirits and how they are, you asked a good question about how do they appear? Are they the way they were when they died?
Yeah.
Do you know? Well, that'd be awful, firstly, if someone, do you know. But like when she said they're kind of, when they were at their happiest and they're living in a time loop, she's kind of said, you know.
You see, that's the whole thing, because that's why I asked.
That's interesting.
It may sound strange. That's why I asked the question about the clothes, right? Because if you were to die, say you get buried and I get buried in a suit, am I forever in that suit?
Yeah.
And how does a material object like a suit pass through into another world? Like, would everyone not really be naked?
Yeah. Well,
you know,
I don't
like
know.
You're born into this world naked, you not leave it. Like, you know what I mean? That is a spirit? Is it like a mental perception of what you see yourself as, and then you project that out?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you know what I mean?
I can find out.
You can find out. That'd be brilliant. But you know what I'm saying when I say that, like you're sitting here.
I know what I mean.
Like the person isn't really a part of the clothes. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you were to dig up the coffin in years to come, right? There could be a suit left there, but all the body has gone away. But like,
I don't know. No, the suit would go before the body, I'd imagine.
What?
I'd imagine.
Clothing.
Well,
it depends what it's made of. If it's made out of plastic, it wouldn't.
Oh yes. Well, will clothing go first?
Probably. I don't think so. Well, like, you know, I think human tissue and all that will like start to.
Will of course. I know, but I'm saying
you can have a piece of. You can find like a suit from this 1920s, right? So that's 100 years old.
Yeah.
I'd say if you dug up a body that's 100 years old, that's like.
But but the suit might still be there.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We've gone off on a tangent.
But you know what I mean? Anyway, we have a bit. But that was the thought process of my question, right? But then, obviously, how the person dies, if they died kind of horrifically, like if they got an axe in the head.
Oh, Jesus.
Or they're walking around for the rest of their life with an axe in their head.
Oh, like in pain.
No wonder they'd be thinking,
Take it out.
Take it out.
Yeah.
And then she also, she spoke, but she believes that she is like a gatekeeper between this world and the next.
Yeah.
So she's saying that like there is a heaven, that the spirits go there, and like she sometimes has to help them realize that they have died. So a lot of these spirits, when they're going around, they don't know that they're dead, so they're still living in this world, and they can't understand how people.
That could be like, you know, we talked about in the afterlife episode. There's people who like. They were aware they were, you know, when they were on the verge of death, but they made the choice to go back. But maybe it's someone who they did actually, the physical body died, but they made the choice to go back, and it was the wrong choice because the physical body died, and they're kind of left in limbo. You know what I mean? That could be it.
She spoke about as well in the interview that like often in a hospital, and it is true, like with some of the older nurses and stuff like that, when a person dies, that they'll open the window to let the spirit out.
Yeah.
And so she reckons, like, when you die, the kind of spirit just goes. And sometimes it passes on and it happily goes, and other times it doesn't.
Do you know there's that thing as well on New Year's Eve where you open the front door? And do you know that thing?
To let the new year in.
New year in. Do you do that, no?
The door's always open here.
No, but like...
we lock our door on New Year's.
Do you do that?
I don't. No, I've heard of it.
I do. Since I've heard it, I do it every New Year's time.
Do you really?
I do. I swear to God, if I'm at home...
Yeah.
If I'm not at home, I don't do it.
Yeah.
And I don't do it the following day. If I
Well,
wanted
you
at
probably
home
open the
night
door
before.
regardless anyway, not even thinking.
No, but
about it.
the
Oh, hello, New Year. You've been
after
outside all night. Come on in.
After the countdown, I go and open the front door.
Yeah.
And I close it, and then I go and open the back door and close it.
Yeah.
Or no, I open the back door first to let this year out.
Oh, yeah, that goes out the back door. Hop out the back door. The New Year's coming in. I don't want him to see this year. I don't want him to know I have another year in the house. In case you open the front door and the New Year comes in and you haven't let the old year out.
And then it's pure awkward.
Then you've got 2 years going, hey, man, what are you doing here?
I thought you would be.
Yeah, hey, 2018, what are you still doing here, man? Right.
This is gone.
Yeah. But also, so she mentioned then as well about the fact that when someone passes on, you go into a house, that they cover the mirrors with a cloth like that, so they can't get caught in the mirror.
Yeah.
So it's some interesting stuff coming out of that interview.
Yeah, but it's like we in the paranormal episode about the people believing that objects, that the loved one or relative moved into an object, like maybe a lamp or mirror. I think we came up.
So there is you see this so many stories about this throughout the years that you have to wonder, well, there has to be some sort of basis for it or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is everybody just crazy, or
is it? Yeah. Well, we just don't know yet.
Okay,
yeah.
We'll keep trying to figure it out. But yeah, so that's also. So if you want to get in contact with Lisana, she has a Facebook page, Lisana Maria, and she gave her phone number out in the interview, and I'll repost that again on our social media pages.
Yeah, so you can check all that stuff out on our Instagram.
So she'll do a reading for you. If you liked what you heard, you can get in contact with her, and maybe go along to one of her nights. You can speak to her on the phone. She's a fairly easy person to talk to.
Yeah, look, it was a good, interesting episode. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it.
I'm glad you enjoyed it anyway. Even if you didn't, Stephen did, all right?
Yeah.
So if you did enjoy it, and if you liked what you heard, get in touch and send us an old email or on World of Wonder
2019 at gmail.com. That's our email address.
Or you can go on to the Rob Rat Podcast on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook.
Yeah, and as we said, some of the story of the big pigeon, we'll post that on there. You can check out our Instagram and you'll see all that stuff there from today's news. And guys, thanks for listening.
All right,
we'll see you next week.
Bye. Same bat channel,
same rat channel.
Oh, same rat channel. Yeah. All right, good luck.
You have been listening to the Rob Rat Podcast. Be sure to check out our social media for updates on the next episode. And if you liked what you heard, then let us know by hitting the subscribe button, sending us a message, and telling a friend, because that's how the podcast grows. Thanks for listening.